this is like the first time that we've showed up to rehearsal and been like super comfortable, because we all like what we tried to do, because we got together this week and we all got tested before and kind of tried making some sort of like a, I don't know, little bubble so that we can all be like chilled out. It's the first time that we don't have to like be freaking out about like, you know, somebody else's COVID.
Yeah, we're usually wearing masks, but for this time around we got tested before. I flew in here and I had this like windscreen thing on my face the whole flight. I was the only weirdo with that. And, but you know.
So this is Better Strangers here, and we're talking with deCasa, with Joey Rodriguez, Yang. How do you pronounce your last name?
Waingarten.
Waingarten. Okay, Waingarten. And Nic Collins. Yang plays bass, and Nick is the drummer, actually the original members of the band, right? So I guess if you can start off with that, the formation of it, and I guess you guys have been longtime friends, right?
Yeah, it's been, the band as a whole, it's more kind of, I guess, like this whole thing, this entity started. Yang and I have known each other since like 7th grade. We became like really close friends and kind of played music together like every now and then. But the origins of this group, I guess, started in our freshman year in high school. So that's like back in 2015. And then it just kind of, you know, we had a lot of member changes, and Joey joined actually in November 2015. So he's, you know, us three have been around with several kind of member changes in different directions musically for quite a while. So it's kind of been a long, you know, it's weird because it's not, it feels like this band hasn't been a thing for 5 years, but it kind of has. You know, we've been playing music together for so long and going through all these changes, and I guess growing up.
Was it always that kind of rock feel to y'all's vibe?
It had rock elements to it, but there was some stuff that could have been considered more commercial, and some stuff, you know, we had like a funky side to our music, and you know, we had different inspirations.
Yeah, I think it also just became where, like, as we grew up as musicians, like that you started seeing that in the music. Like it was like, oh, you know, you could tell that they were really listening to the Chili Peppers at this point, because they were just writing a bunch of, you know, funky stuff. Or, you know, they could tell that they just discovered Royal Blood because they were writing all that stuff. So, you know, there was different phases of those other two groups. Obviously, we had What You Know had a different singer, and then 50-100 had a different singer then. So it just seemed the right time when we kind of decided to rebrand, and we actually spent a year and a half, something like that, looking for a new singer, which is when, you know, we finally met up with deCasa, sorry. And
so then enter deCasa, right? How, dude, from where? Like, how did you get in touch with them? What was that process of like, hey, you know, I can sing, can I try out?
Yeah,
we just got an email. That's honestly what it was, but it's like nonsense.
Long story short, I sent an email.
What was funny is when we first got that email, it was like it came in our inbox, and we were like, oh, okay, just some guy who sent some stuff to our email, from Texas. Like, how is that going to work? So we kind of put it off because we actually had a few other people that we were auditioning at the time, so we were focused on that. And then we finished that, and we were like, let's check out that email. And I remember, I think everybody had kind of checked out that email alone, and we never talked about it. And then we all sat together and listened to it and go, wow, this is actually pretty good. And we were like, maybe we should answer him. And it was like, you know, like 2 weeks since he sent the email, and he sent some demos. Like the first two, actually one of the demos was the song that just came out. Obviously it was different back then, but the song Lies that just came out last week, that was one of the first demos in the first email exchange that we had. And then we were like, yeah, we like it, let's get together. And then within like a few weeks.
It was a couple of months, because we started talking around May, and I didn't actually.
That long?
Yeah, I didn't actually fly in until July.
Came in July.
Kind of backtrack a little bit. Where did you pick up on the group, you know, to start off with?
So it's super, super random. So I was watching a movie with his sister on it, Lily. It was during quarantine. I was watching a shit ton of movies, like just bored at home. I went and searched her name on Google, right? And I was like, oh, cool. This is Lily Collins, whatever. What other movies? After that, you know how your phone just gives you like recommended stuff? Like,
They're always watching.
This is at like 4 a.m. and I'm just laying in bed, like on my Discover page on Instagram. It's like a picture from that she had posted, like an old picture of her and Nick saying happy birthday, Nick, or whatever. So it's just like a little square, and I click on it and I'm like, oh, who's that? So I click on his picture, it takes me to his profile. Then from his profile, I see that he's in a band because he had like tagged it or whatever on his bio. And I click on it, and then the 5800 page pops up. And now I'm scrolling through it, and it's like, oh, I see through their old posts that they have been looking for a singer. But these are like a year-old posts because it had been a while.
A long
time without a singer.
But then I put 2 and 2 together, and I was like, they haven't posted anything about a new singer, which means they probably haven't found one. But then I went to sleep. I left there. Then like 2 weeks later, I don't know, intuition or something, I was just like, shit, I should probably say something. It doesn't hurt. And I sent an email, and I kind of forgot about it because, like he said, like it took like a week, 2 weeks or some shit. I don't know. And then they finally replied. I was like, oh shit, all right, cool. It was so far-fetched of an idea just because of the circumstances. First, COVID. Like, second, like Miami, Texas. Then, like, I don't know. It just didn't seem.
But then in a way it worked because of COVID. Like, flights were super cheap. Like, yeah, it's like $70 round trip or something. Yeah. And then.
Was it really $70 round trip?
Yeah. It was when we first met up, and it was amazing. And also you realize that in these circumstances now, and with the technology where, you know, we, like us three, we're all like, as in me, Yang, and Joey, we're all based in Miami. So we would get together, and it started becoming this dynamic where we're always getting phone calls on these FaceTimes, or if like, oh, hey, you know, new song, and we bounce it, and he would bounce back a version, and it became this really kind of cool, healthy communication thing that even though we were not in the same state, it kind of worked out like really well.
Yeah, and it really worked out because I feel like the bulk of what needs to be in the same spot is you guys, band-wise, to be able to record a demo and send it over. You know, I feel like if the case was like Yang wasn't here, it'd be way harder. Because vocals is just like a layer that you could just put on top.
That whole period of time that we didn't have a singer, me, Nick, and Joey kept coming here to the studio. We kept writing more music and kind of searching for what our sound was. And so, you know, comes Ricky, and we have a bunch of songs that don't have any lyrics to them. And we're like, okay, so here's one, write something. Okay, great, that's awesome. Here's another one. Do you like it? No, not that one that much. Okay, we'll give him another one. And we're able to like to build a pretty quick, like he's been in the band for a few months now. We're releasing an EP soon, you know?
Yeah, and with all those first demos that we sent, like even with the first vocal track he sent us, it was already there. I mean, things have changed and stuff from like those first demos, but like the first thing we got from Ricky, we realized like, okay, this is actually really good. And like the guy can write music on top of, you know, singing and having a good voice, and it was like, wow, this just works.
And I hate to like, you know, it kind of comes off, we're kind of like completely brown nosing you right now, but it's the truth that when we listened to it, we kept on looking, because we auditioned a bunch of singers. We had the singers who had this really great range, and then we had singers who were just like, you know, they had this one, and we always looked for like, as musicians, is, you know, yeah, sure, we like to think that we're capable at our instruments, but we're more songwriters than we are musicians. That's always like been, and we were looking at that for our singer. We didn't want somebody who, you know, oh, like check out my theory knowledge. It was like had a vibe and could write and could, you know, that you could relate to their stuff. And, you know, and not to sound cliche, but yeah, the time that we had when we were looking for a singer, yeah, you have to kind of find your sound. But what was funny is that you start to realize now that, you know, when we have a singer, there's so many songs that like, yeah, you can tell we didn't have a singer when we wrote that, because it's in like 9/8, and there's like, you know, like a bunch of like instrumental bits, and it's like, yeah, like we can't do this.
One of the reasons why he like joined and kind of was able to form with us so well was like his personality fits our personalities also. So like what Nick was saying, it's not just the fact that like he's a good singer, but he's got this vibe to him. And when we came here and we like auditioned him for the first time, we started playing these covers and whatever, and it was like, damn, like this guy, like you want to keep looking at him and keep fucking seeing what he's gonna dance to next, or what he's gonna sing, and it was awesome, you know. And
because I love the style that your sound right now. I really like the live song. Do you think there's like this rock resurgence coming up? I mean, you got not that Machine Gun Kelly was doing rock, but he was doing a little bit of pop rock, right? And then you have like Miley Cyrus doing a little bit of covers of Metallica and all that. Like, do you think that's coming up again?
I hear people say that.
I'd like
all
to
the
think
time.
so.
I think there's definitely room for it. You know, I don't know how mainstream it will be, but like you have rock bands who do well, like Royal Blood, but I wouldn't say they've broken into the mainstream. I mean, yeah, I'd like to hope so.
Yeah, I think also with the circumstances with COVID, I mean, you see every, I guess, era where rock becomes relevant again, there's something that pushes that. And I think that in theory, you know, as cliche as it sounds, like this is the perfect time for a rock band to come up and just rock music to become relevant because, you know, people have been staying home for ages and they're tired of, you know, nobody knows what's happening. You know, half the country hates each other because
people are pissed.
That's okay. That's what I was waiting on. Like, that's kind of my theory. You can't know for sure, but I get this feeling that there's just this anger deep inside everybody because they're just like, I just want to get out of here. And I feel like that little bit of insanity that people have in them might just be enough for them to be like, I want to listen to rock and just die.
I think the most important thing though, it's if people relate to it, they'll relate to it. And I just think that you don't want to fall into the category where there's a few artists who they're trying too hard to relate to these people and it's not working and they're making rock this kind of throwback thing that's like, you know, it's got to be this whole kind of 60s classic rock vibe. And that's not what it is. You know,
there's no room for a rock resurgence if the bands aren't pushing forward and doing something somewhat new and somewhat interesting that people haven't heard, even if it's slightly different. But when you have bands who are going, you know, putting a lot of effort in, like Nick said, into like sounding like a band from 40 years ago. People have already heard that.
You look at all genres, even like rap, like that had such a massive resurgence because you hear a clear evolution between when rap became mainstream in the 90s to where it is now, and that's like the biggest genre around right now. You know, everybody listens to rap music, and I think rock music has to do the same thing because if not, it's never going to be relevant because people are just trying to do what Led Zeppelin did 50 years ago.
Right, and there has to be that modern twist to that rock sound. I would absolutely be down if we had another resurgence of new metal.
Although, dude, we have this song. I'll tell them this that we love is an understatement. I don't know why. There's just a song we just love. And Jimmy T.
Not recorded yet, though.
No, it's not recorded. I mean, there's demos of it.
We have demos.
Jimmy T.
I don't know if I would call it new metal.
Okay, but all I'm saying is the Jimmy T, which is the guy that produced it, or not produced it, that mixed it essentially. Heard it and was like, "Ooh, new metal." Apparently.
What are you all listening to during lockdown, COVID, pandemic? What's the Better Strangers 2020 playlist?
We each made our own playlist.
Oh, did you really?
We made 36 song playlists, so ours are very similar, and Ricky's is just completely different.
Which is good.
Which is cool. Which is
great.
But to me, like going back towards like the whole rock relevancy thing is that what ended up happening, like this one song that Ricky spoke about, is that us three put like I think it's a rock tune, and then Ricky completely did what nobody thought was going to end up being on that track, and it ended up being better than just like, you know, and which is cool. So you look at his playlist and it's like, what is this music? But it's kind of like, you know, it makes sense.
Exactly.
You know, like,
if that's what gives him inspiration, then I'm all for it, man. Because he's making, you know.
No, that's actually good. He said 4 songs.
Are we talking in 2020?
No.
It doesn't have to be 2020, but what do you guys listen like on repeat?
Like everybody pick one song. Like just throw it out there.
Listening a lot to Soda Squeeze by the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Okay, Red Hot Chili Peppers.
I wouldn't even say it's a one song, but I think that
one.
I'm just saying that I think the whole new Nothing But Thieves record completely sums up what 2020 is. It's
Nothing
like
But Thieves.
that whole new album, Moral Panic, is like that entire thing is just 2020 depressing,
Right.
kind of. That's what it is.
Black Sabbath, Into the Void. Probably that's what I've been listening to. Black Sabbath, a lot of Black Sabbath.
I got one that I have been listening to non-stop this past week. That's why I'm bringing it up. Ex-girlfriend. Ex-girlfriend by No Doubt.
Yes, that's true. You
know No
Is
Doubt,
it-
right? Gwen.
Yeah. Is there a?
Oh my
That was like the last band I expected to see on your playlist.
That was my sister's
Okay.
like shit.
right,
She
look.
was like 4.
I was watching this Hayley Williams interview, and she was talking about she started talking about how she has a line of like hair dye. Dude, I love Hayley Williams. Like, hey Hayley, if you watch it, look, she was talking about how she has this like line of hair dyes now, and the pink one was they were trying to get the color that Gwen Stefani was wearing on the ex-girlfriend video, and I was like, oh, I've never seen it, and game changer. Just
Basically,
These
next time
two-
you ever do another interview, he's gonna have pink hair.
Yeah.
Pink hair.
But I gotta address the elephant in the room. Nick, you play drums, live drums for your dad, which is Phil Collins.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we started touring a few years ago, like 2017. So it's been a thing for a while. And what was cool is that, as a band, I mean, I feel like it made me mature as a musician real quick. And I think it, like, you know, when you're exposed to that, you know, you're exposed to the road, and it just ends up being great knowledge to bring to, you know, it's different settings. So, like, you know, even though you're not playing this massive arena, you're playing a club, it's the same thing. It's the same principle. So you become more used to it, and you just kind of like, I started learning to, as a drummer, like that whole doing that, you know, that touring thing is, as a drummer, I learned that, like, you're the drummer, man. For lack of better words, like, stay in your fucking lane. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
It's not a drummer show, because it used to be before where, you know, you do shows and it's like, oh, check out this crazy fill I did, you know, blah, blah, blah. And it became where, like, you know, play your part, and you're serving the music. And but that's been fun, and obviously, you know, but what's been good is that I've always been able to balance that with you know, with this band, you know, like, it's been so long, and the way our schedules ended up working out, and you know, we never had any issues where, like, I felt that was taking away from what I could do here, you know, which is a good thing. So yeah, I mean, that's my sentiment about it.
How? One last question on that. I know this is about, you know, Better Strangers and everything, but how cool is it to tour with your dad? Like,
Yeah.
to do something like that? Like, that's an amazing kind of.
Aside from the fact of playing live music and touring, it's the fact that it's my dad. You know, I get to spend and share those moments with my dad. You know, and it's a really great thing. And it's really nice. Aside from the music, it's just a nice thing to be able to share with my dad. So
That's awesome.
yeah, that's what's, like, been great about that. And
It's very cool for us to see him play, because it's like you get to see, like, this kid who's, like, going and playing Madison Square Garden, and then he gets back and we play a little bar, and he's still going 110%, you know, and you know, he goes on tour and he brings back, like, all the knowledge that he's learned, and he, like, applies it here, and then we get better as a band, and everyone just kind of gets better.
To that, like, from an outsider perspective, I think it's fucking awesome that that's not something that, because you play with your dad, it's not like your demeanor doesn't change just because it's like you don't feel, or I mean, I don't know if you do, but you don't come across as like, I know what I'm talking about.
well,
like,
I try my best to convey that, because I hate that about most people.
the way it comes across is just like, it's just another gig, you know what I mean? And like,
Yeah.
this is just equally as
Yeah,
as the
and
thing.
also, like, it's
Cool.
it's different that, you know, to me at least, like, you know, going back to when we were just talking about how this band formed, like, this is not just like a band that I joined, like, this, you know, became, I mean, really our love child, but this was, like, you know, 5-6 years of putting all your stuff in it. And so, like, it's a real kind of, I that's, you know, to me, it's, I never put, you know, I never, like, take priority away from this group, because this has kind of been the thing that we've been working on, and that I've been working on, you know, for years. So yeah, I mean, I thank you for saying that. You know, I try not to come off that way. Because I think at the end of the day, like it you know, it benefits people to you know, when like stuff like when the rig that we're using for some of the extra layers, like you know, that's stuff that you become familiar with as you get exposed to it on the road, and then you know that ends up helping out. But that's kind of, you know, how I take it. You know, it's kind of like a learning experience, really.
Also, our standard is a lot better. What do you mean? Well, now Nick goes on tour. He has great sound in ears, and now we come here. Now I have to. We just spent like the whole day figuring out what's wrong with our in ears.
Yeah. No, yeah. There's definitely like a level of professionalism that comes with this group that I really enjoy.
But it's also like it's never work.
It's fun. Well, to be honest, like sometimes it does feel like work, but I enjoy that. Like it's like, well, I mean, it is what it is. It's so official to me in my head. Like I see it like very, you know.
But that whole professionalism, like, I mean, obviously it came from that, but it came from us being in a band for so long, where you show up to a show and everything's completely gone south, and it's like,
100%.
you know, now when it's in our control, we try our best to like make it as good as possible, but it's very rarely in our control.
But it works around, because like I'm someone that, like, if I'm like, I don't like to fuck around. Like I like to get shit done, and like if it's practice, like we practice and we do that. Like I feel like we are so productive, dude. Okay, so just so for some context, I flew in here the first time in July. I fly again in August. We record an entire EP in a week, doing 16-hour days essentially. We would get here at what, 10 every day?
Around 10.
Yeah, 9 or 10.
9,
depending how long the song that we needed to record.
Yeah, 9 or 10.
How tired we were.
9, 10. We'd leave at like 2, 3.
Between 1 to 2, or maybe even 3.
Yeah.
And Joey lives like an hour away from me.
Yeah, then I would drive an hour to my house to go to sleep, and then drive an hour in the morning.
So we had 16-hour days for a week, which, I mean, look, there's people that do this every day in the workforce. But just for some context, like we were going through that, and it was like, it's necessary. Like and there was like a hustle that week, and we were all so dead and tired, and by the end of it all, it was just like, my voice was but I really enjoyed that. It was like, wow, these weeks have been so, like, these couple days have been so productive.
I mean, even the first time you came, we wrote like a bunch of songs like within the first couple days, that first week.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's like we get together and we work. One last thing is like, I guess that's part of the whole, like, the distance aspect of it works, because when we do get together, the time is limited, so we know we have to get shit done, and it helps.
Yeah.
Actually, this is the first time that Ricky comes, and it's kind of like, okay, let's leave an allotted time and space to write music and, you know, relax for a little bit.
Have fun with each other.
Because it's always like, we would end up coming to record, and we leave the studio. It's like, okay, I won't talk to you guys until the next time we see each other.
Dude, yeah.
Because you need time to be a band. You know, you need time to just play, which is what we did. I mean, because you know, we not a cover band, but when we first met up with deCasa, we were like, just play a bunch of covers, just learn a bunch of covers, and just play music, because it's not about whether we're gonna play them or whether you sound good on them. It's just like, be a band, play music together, because
it's to find that chemistry.
Exactly, which we're lucky was there. You know, even like given the first few songs, it was like the improvisation level.
It was automatic.
It was like knowing, okay, like this guy gets it. It's not, you know, that was what we dealt with a lot when we were auditioning singers, is like, I mean, even with some prior members is you know, it's hard as a singer to fit in with a core of musicians, us three, that have been together for so long, and we know each other, and not like, and I get that it sounds like super corny, but we grew up together, like as people and as musicians. Like everything, that the reason we play music a certain way is because, like, I wouldn't play this genre exactly if I wasn't in a band with you two. You know what I mean? Like for 4 years or 5 years. So for a singer to come in and feel comfortable and get that and actually be part of it as much as we are, is difficult, but you know, it happened. And so that's why we were kind of like, oh my God, like finally, it's been like 1.5 years that we've been looking for a singer, and now it's finally, you know, worth it. But what's fun it never ends though. We were like, okay, as soon as we find a singer, that's it. We can go. And now we found, we had to. It's like, what's the band name? That took like 3 months to come up with the band.
Was some shit.
And then it was like, okay, what are we releasing? It just like it's
always something.
Yeah, there's always something.
But it looks like you guys are laser focused, and I'm excited to see what comes out of this, man, and can't wait for that EP. Do you have a title for the EP yet, or is that still in the works?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, go ahead.
All right. I mean, you want to say it?
Yeah.
It's called Luna's Daydream.
Luna's Daydream. Okay. Yeah, be looking for that on what was it, December?
Well, the second single is coming out on December 18th. That's Slow Fade. That's the second single of the EP that's coming out.
No dates for that.
No,
yet.
Okay.
Who knows?
Yeah.
It's like we may be touring tomorrow. We may be touring in 8 months. Nobody knows. COVID is a thing that you can't really put a schedule on.
What I was saying is like he was talking about the release date for the EP and like the whole touring thing. I feel like we kind of have like this general. I'm speaking for all of us. I don't know if I'm gonna be right in this, but we want to have this EP out and be able to tour it, and not, at least for me, I don't know. I feel like I wouldn't.
That's the goal.
Wait, you guys want to play shows?
No, but what I mean is like, it's like the EP comes out and it's like boom, shows, but
Right.
because it would just suck to just have it sit there and not be able.
And
to
a year
play it.
later, who's ready for the tour?
It's not the same.
When did
It's
you
not
release
the
this
same.
again?
Yeah.
Like,
Music is the most anticlimactic thing you could ever imagine. Like I remember Rise came out, and 1 minute it wasn't on Spotify, and the next minute it was. I'm like, okay,
It was like
there it is. And it's like, yeah. And then
Singles out.
And then I'm like, with
So much for this 2-month build-up that
Yeah.
we didn't do it.
I'm with my family, and we listened to it once, and we're like, cool. All right, good night.
But to be honest,
All right.
Back to that point.
No.
by the time it comes out, though, it's like you've already listened to it, like, countless amount of times. So you're like, okay, yeah, the song's out. There you go. Like,
It's like, do you guys like it?
yeah.
Yeah, so I guess that excitement comes from the touring afterwards, shortly after, but because of pandemic and all that, we don't know when that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I appreciate it.
Perfect.
Take your time, man.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jay.